going on, everyone? Craig here from Soundiron, and in today's video we're going to be talking about reamping using a Reamping cab along with our Axe Machina library. So this is a demo that I did a video breakdown of a while back, so if you want to check that out, click the link up here. And this is a deathcore style track, so it's pretty aggressive. It's got some death metal vocals from our recently updated Voices of Rage, as well as Knockout Drums, which is a drum library that we did in collaboration with Zach Oren and Naveen Copperwise. It's a killer drum library. I got some bass guitar in here, and then Axe Machina is holding down all the rhythm guitars. So originally in this demo, I used an amp sim from Neural DSP. I'm going to show you a little bit of the DIs, and then we're going to be doing some reamping. So to give you an idea of the DI signal, there's nothing about it that's very inspiring. It's pretty much like listening to someone playing through a clean tone, probably even more boring than that. So let's just listen to the DIs by themselves. So as I mentioned earlier, having the DIs is just a great way of being able to give you a little bit more flexibility after the fact, because there's times where you've recorded in the studio and if you didn't capture the DI, you're pretty much limited to whatever amp you recorded. And anytime I've been recording in the studio, especially since I've been recording at home, capturing the DI is always just a great way, especially if you're working, sending files out to someone else. Let's say you record the DIs at home using something like a Countryman Type 85, which is what I have here. It's a DI box. And if you're sending these out to someone who has a bunch of amps, they can reamp with them and then send them back and give you a few different variations, pick which one you like. So being able to have the DI is just a great way and a surefire way to have a little bit more flexibility in the mixing and that sort of thing. The signal chain we're going to be using is this reamp box. This is the Studio Reamper from Radial. And I have this running out of my audio interface, and then I have a cable running into this reamp box, and then it's going into the front of a noise suppressor. It's the ISP noise decimator. Great noise gate, especially if you're doing any high gain stuff and you're using it live. I've used this for years and it works great. And then it's going into a precision drive from Horizon Devices, awesome overdrive pedal. And then that's going into the Synergy amps, which is then running into the 212. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to route our track's output to the Radial reamp box, and that way our signal flows from the DI to the output through the reamp box into the amp. And if you were to take a recorded DI track, this is the same way you would do it. So this applies to, even if you don't have Axe Machina and we're using it in this way, you can just, that's how you would route your DI. So the cool thing about having Axe Machina is because since I'm playing through the DI, you can literally play with the library through the amp, which is pretty cool. So if you're dialing in tones like that, you can do that, or you can program MIDI and hear it through the amp. So all we have to do is click our track, go to the output. It was already set to a group, but we're gonna change that. We're gonna set this to the Radial reamp box. Now let's have a listen to this. So I'm gonna solo this track. So you can hear it playing through the amp, which is pretty cool. And we have a couple mics on it. And even if I was just wanting to play around with it, I can hear the DIs playing through the amp in real time, which is pretty cool. So if we want to reamp this, we'll need to set up a few tracks. I've already done that just to save a little bit of time for this video. And I have one right here for the SM57, one for the TLM 102. And then all you have to do is just record enable these tracks and then hit record. So I'm gonna solo this, and then let's just hit record. Cool. And then if you want to get rid of any little bit of noise in the end, like this part right here, just drag this back, put a little fade on it, and then just do the next side. So let's turn these off, and then I'm going to record enable these. These are already panned. And then we just have to make sure to set this to the reamper. Now let's have a listen to this. So after that, let's just go ahead and mute our DIs and just listen to what we got. And then of course after this, if you don't like it, you can play around with the microphone positions, you can add some post-processing. On this, I actually have some post-processing on the bus. So I'm gonna make sure that these are all set to the bus, which is the guitar bus. Let's go ahead and set it to that. Let's have a listen to this. All right, so now that we have our reamps done, let's go ahead and listen to this in the context of a mix. I don't expect this to sound amazing since we did this kind of quickly. Normally I would be fine-tuning and tweaking, moving mic positions around and that sort of thing. But let's just hear how it sounds. So I kind of want to hear how it sounds with guitars and bass. So let's check this out. And then let's also hear it with some drums. And as I mentioned earlier, we're using knockout drums. These are the drums that we did in collaboration with Zach Oren. Naveen is the drummer. He plays in Entheos and he's played in a bunch of other bands. And his kit, along with Zach's know-how as far as drums go, is just awesome because, I mean, these toms alone are my favorite toms. Now let's listen to just the instrumental. Let's dial the guitars in a little bit. So that's actually sounding pretty cool. Now let's listen to it all together. We got drums, bass, guitar, and some vocals, courtesy of Redouan from the Voices of Rage update, who has just a monstrous voice. So let's hear how it sounds. All right, so that's about it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, it helps out a lot. And if you have Axe Machina and some real amps, definitely experiment with this. It's a lot of fun, and it's just nice to just get some amps in your room and just crank them up, right? I mean, who doesn't want to do that? So until next time, thanks again, and see you in the next video. Take care.